If I wrote out a list of every single task needed to finish building this boat, it would be terrifyingly long. But the truth is, it's not really a linear list at all. It's more like one of those crime scene boards that you see in the movies with photos, notes, and a red string connecting everything together. Every job links to 5 others. You can't finish one thing without planning the next, ordering parts, welding something else, and somehow hoping it all fits together when you're done. It's this giant spiderweb of projects, and while every once in a while we feel like the poor fly trapped in the middle, we're actually totally in love with the process. The creativity, the challenges, the feeling of possibility, and the reward of bringing our wildest dreams to life. And in this week's episode, we're going to drop you right in the middle of it with us and show you what it's really like to build our very own custom aluminum catamaran from scratch. Today's big picture project is to begin insulating the hull, but we won't actually be doing any insulating in today's video. You see, before we can start with that, all the welding needs to be finished, which means we need to finalize the flooring, which means we need to finalize where the access hatches will be, which means we need to dry fit the galley, which means we need to make sure the faucet won't get in the way of the hatches on the windows, and all the mounting brackets need to be welded in, but also we need to make sure the steering can fit properly with the insulation, which means, well, I think you get the idea by now. Nothing is as simple as it seems, and everything depends on everything else. So in moments like these, where you don't even know where to start, well, you just gotta start on something.
So what's gonna happen is that we're gonna remove the temporary floor, and then there's a few things that needs to happen under that floor before the kind of like permanent floor goes on there.
We'd put this flooring down a while back just to make working and walking around easier. It's standard issue, heavy 18mm plywood, cheap and effective for construction. Eventually, it'll be replaced with our lightweight and strong Hollypan honeycomb composite flooring and be covered with a luxury vinyl flooring to create a hardwood look. But the temporary floor we have down now has served us well, and now it's time for it to go.
So the floor is out, as you can see, and Dane was just going around and doing some measurements to see if there is any level change. So the least change it is, the better. The only issue that we're running into is that we're having a freezer that is kind of a set level to the countertop. And then if the floor changes too much, it's going to create some issues, since that is kind of like a set level and we don't have anything to give there. Like that is just, it's like smack high, like as high as it can get. So there is a little bit of an interesting challenge there, I guess. What they're gonna do is measure everything, and then if there is any changes, kind of like work on leveling everything out. And then I'm not sure I'm gonna be here because I actually have to go and get Sierra right now. She can't really be here at the shop with us too much, so my time is kind of limited and I might miss that.
As predicted, Kaza did miss getting back to film this, but with a laser and some encouragement and whack-a-mole with Dan's precious BFH, we were able to get the high spots out and the floor was level to within a bee's dick, as Dan would put it. So the next day, it was on to Exhibit B.
Morning, guys. Today, Dane is starting to put in the permanent real floor, and we also have to cut some access hatches. Basically, we have 3 of them. So this one is the one under the sink, and then it's this one and this one that is both for the bus bar access. So that's kind of the 3 that we need to know exactly where those are. That's why we need to bring the galley up
and kind of like dry fit it again, so we can like figure out exactly where these are going to be, so we can cut the proper kind of areas out in the new floor. But before we get into that project, I want to share something with you guys that my mom sent me as a reel the other day. It just really moved me, and it actually made me feel quite emotional, just like crying when I listened to it. So I thought I'd read it out for you guys. Okay, here we go. I'm 80 years old and somehow woke up in my 37-year-old body just for one day. I wake up to little hands tugging at the blankets. Mom, wake up, they shout. I blink and sit up slowly. My babies are small again. They climb into bed, giggling, wiggling. I remember always rushing through mornings, but not today. Today I pull them close, hug them tight. I kiss their messy hair and hold their little hands. This time I soak in every second. I catch my reflection in the bathroom mirror. No deep lines, no gray hair. My younger face. I used to think I looked old at 41. What a silly thought. I find my husband in the kitchen making coffee. He's strong and young. I wrap my arms around him tight. He looks surprised. Maybe we didn't hug enough back then, I think. We talk about the day, and today it all feels big. I memorize the sound of his voice. We pile into the car, kids arguing over seatbelts, someone drops a snack. There is crumbs everywhere. I used to get so frustrated, but today I soak in the noise and the chaos, because I know my car will be quiet and spotless for many years to come. Dinner is loud and messy, no one wants to sit still. There is shouting, giggling, arguing, and so much life. I don't clear up straight away, I just sit and watch, trying to burn it all into my memory. Before bed, I pick up the phone. I call my mom, and I hear her voice. I haven't heard this voice in so many years. I close my eyes and let her words wash over me. I tell her I love her again and again, and I never want to hang up. And this time, I don't leave anything unsaid. At bedtime, I don't skip pages in the story. I read every single word. And then I ask, can we read one more book? And they say yes. I don't want this day to end. I got one more day, and this time I knew this was joy, this was love. Those little hands are strong young bodies with no aches or pains. Our parents who are still alive, and it all matters so much more than we ever realized at the time. See, it just made me tear up right now too. It just made me realize like how easy it is to just rush through life and miss so many of these like small everyday moments. So this is something that I've really wanted to focus on lately. Just learning how to kind of like slow down and be more present. Like sitting with Brian at the end of the day and just talk instead of both of us just kind of like zoning out on our phones. And for me, talking things through and just like getting some guidance in like how to do this has been really, really helpful. Like catching myself when I start to rush and just kind of choose to just take a step back and take a pause. And that's why I'm really happy BetterHelp is the paid partner of this week's video. And they're on a mission to make starting therapy easier. So if you feel the same or really just need somebody to talk to, BetterHelp is a great place to start. Just head on over to betterhelp.com/Delos or click the link in the description below for 10% off your first month of therapy. And yeah, let's go and check out this galley now. So I'm just gonna take out the drawers from the kind of places so we can more easily bring them up.
We got everything in place and marked out where the cuts needed to be, which led quite nicely into the next piece of the puzzle.
We just busted out the sink so Dan can... Why did we bust the sink?
So we can work out where the drainage is going to go.
Okay, and that is important because...
Well, we need to make sure we've got enough room for the faucet.
Yeah.
Or the tap.
The tap?
The tap. But also, because it's an undermount sink, we want to make sure we don't come too far forward so that we can undermount it to the corium.
So you basically going to do all the...
Plumbing.
Plumbing.
Put the trap in, punch a hole through the boat floor with a compensating plate with a valve. So basically just mocking everything up so that we get it right the first time. Here's the plan, Stan.
Plan, Stan. Looks great. Looks great with the window. We're also thinking about a lot of things like the handle for the windows can't interfere with the stuff that, because I want to have 3 things around the sink. So I want the tap, and I also have a water heater thingy that I can get boiling water out of.
Cup of tea with Cads.
Yeah, because if you guys know me, I love tea and I drink a lot of tea. So I'm gonna have hot water on demand, boiling water on demand, out of a sink. So it's pretty fancy, and I won't need a kettle anymore, which is kind of crazy because I feel like kettles are always like flying around, and I also have a soap dispenser. And this is actually stuff that I ordered months ago when Steve first started the Galley, because he told me that like he needs to know the exact dimensions of everything so he can make sure that everything fits. It's interesting, kind of the process and how everything kind of comes together. So we were discussing like with the sink drain, if that is in the middle, will it conflict with
I think we should have plenty of room. The handle mounts here, and then you got the 2 locking levers,
Okay.
and they just open out like that.
Then do we have to figure out the sinks now? Like my 3 sink things?
No, as long as the handle, we know where the handle is.
Well, that's your pivot point there, and that's the handle there.
So if we have even the big faucet either here, the hot water one, and the little one there, or how it feels, maybe the little one there.
Yep, the soap one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll work.
So with everything fitting together well, we took the cabinets back out and Dan could begin cutting the hatches. But if you look over here, you'll see there's actually a whole nother project going on at the very same time. Next step is we're going to start preparing this floor for insulation. The insulation on an aluminum boat is crucial, both for temperature and sound, and it's something we researched and deliberated on a lot. And don't worry, there will be a whole episode coming out all about the process. But for now, all you need to know is we decided to use a spray foam for the majority of the hull. But in certain areas, that won't be practical, so we've got a different plan. Me and Bill are about ready to start working on the steering, because if this whole area is going to be spray foamed, we have the steering which sits in here. I put it in months ago as a test fit. But you can imagine we don't want spray foam all over the shaft that's supposed to spin. That would be a disaster. So I think we're going to do normal foam in this area here. Alright, this is our...
I can't see your face, where are you?
This is our 20...
There he is.
This is our 25 mil closed cell polyethylene foam. Fire resistance, blah 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 blah. Good thermal qualities, blah 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 blah. Good stuff. Not gonna get much better of a fit than that.
That's pretty good, huh?
Now what we have to do is just make sure that this...
It looks like we'll need to cut it out a little bit.
Yeah, we might need to make a small channel in the center. I think only like 5 mil or something though. It was a bit of a lengthy process to carefully measure each segment so we could cut all the pieces to size, and in the meantime, Dan was doing some cutting of his own.
G'day, boss.
Escape hatch time?
Escape hatch. I've been trying to fit through that for weeks.
All right. Boom. That's what we're doing, for real.
Make sure we cut the right line.
Yes. That's for this. Pretty nice. This big old hole that Dan is cutting in the bottom of the boat is where our escape hatch will go. But let's talk about why catamarans need these in the first place. On a monohull, if a boat ever capsizes, the heavy keel acts like a counterweight and brings the boat back right side up. But if a catamaran were to flip over, it would just stay floating upside down, potentially trapping the crew inside. So this escape hatch will be our lifeline to get out of the boat if the unthinkable were to ever happen. Of course, it's not something you ever want to have to use, but like fire extinguishers, life rafts, EPIRBs, and all the other essential safety gear, if the day ever comes that you need to use it, you'll be so thankful that you have it.
We're a bit tight. I don't know, this might be tight for you, Brian, but not me. Make it through.
Yeah, forget about it, Bill.
I'm going down the ship.
Big hole.
Moment of truth. Billionaires with the hatch. Wow. Oh, Jesus.
That's it.
It certainly looks nice. And with that, our work week was officially done. After our last months back on Delos cruising again, it had been an adjustment to get back into the groove of land life. And while there are certain things we miss about being out on the water, living amongst civilization has its perks too. And we come to really enjoy our weekends here as a family.
Where are we going, Sierra?
Apparently we're going to the Arctic based on your HH puffy jackets. Nugs, do you know where we're going?
The hoedown, I think.
Do you know what a hoedown is?
I don't.
We're gonna go down to the local neighborhood area. It's gonna be people and some food, some celebrations, beverages, some animals, and
there's gonna be some candy there.
there's gonna be candy. Do you think there's gonna be fireworks?
Yes.
Woohoo!
And I hope it's gonna be ice cream there.
What are they, Sierra?
Ghosts, baby ghosts.
Baby goats? Are they super cute?
Yes, I can like one of them up.
Can't eat these goats.
I know.
This is very exciting for suburban life, eh, Bill?
I see how this goes, yes. I was promised beers and bikinis. Again, if you fail.
We have hay bales and mini goats.
Please eat the rest of the food, Sierra.
Whoa.
Look at the birdies. They're so cool.
Oh, I'm gonna miss you so much today.
This one saves you on the whole day.
I want to stay with you the whole day, but you have to go to school.
I know.
Okay.
Hi, kiddo. I love you.
Bye, Daddy.
So we just sent Sierra and Bill off in the car.
Driving with Sierra, Bill calls it.
Driving.
It's like she bosses me around and tells me when I make wrong turns.
And it's amazing. So Bill has been driving her in the mornings. Long story short, now Sierra goes to school a little bit further away. So it's a 30-minute drive there and a 30-minute drive back. So it's quite a lot of driving every day. It's like over 2 hours. So it's amazing that he's taking her in the mornings because then we can bicycle. We also have this crazy plant.
It's very Australian.
But it's
Does
like
anybody know what
growing.
that thing is?
I don't know, growing longer and longer and longer. The bees love it. It's huge. Yay! It looks so funny. Okay, I'm gonna point the camera forward so you guys can see kind of like the track that we're going on. It's really nice. We made it! Such a nice ride. It's like, how long? Like 7 minutes?
Yeah, it's beautiful though.
Yeah.
The weather this time of year is just fantastic. What a difference just a little bit of exercise makes every morning and every afternoon. Huh?
Yeah.
I love it. It's so cool also to come here and have Delos right there.
I know.
Just peeking her little head around the corner. Hello! Don't forget about me.
Okay.
Ready to start the day?
Yes.
Boom, boom, lights on. Wow, it's been pretty full on. You
Yeah.
know, it's always pretty intense when we get back. The first couple weeks are just getting adjusted to different lifestyle and different schedule and different things for
Organizing.
Sierra.
Yeah.
We're now back here working all hours of the day. Besides, which is a lot different than the amazing time we had sailing on Delos. I really enjoyed that trip though. It was like a little 3.5 month.
Yeah, it felt
kind of
really
break.
good. If you guys remember, we were kind of talking about, you know, when we first left from here, we were talking about that we were going to leave her in Fiji and all of that stuff. And then our plans kind of changed and it felt really right to just sail her back here to Australia. And I think it was the right
We did it.
decision. Yeah.
Speaking of Delos in Australia, come check this out.
Yeah.
Out of the shop.
Ta-da!
Look at it. It's right there.
There she is. It's
So now-
so funny.
I can work on the new boat, and then in the mornings and the afternoons, I come and fix all the broken stuff on Delos. But here she is.
Yeah.
She's out of the water. We were ready to kick off another workday in the shop. But before we dive into another big project, I wanted to backtrack a little and go into a bit more depth about the installation while we had a bit of a peace and quiet before Dan and the guys get to grinding and welding for the day. We were doing this on Friday, but it was super loud in the shop. Like there's way too much stuff going on, so I thought it would be cool to talk about it now. But what we did is this area will be the nylon foam. It's fire resistant, it's closed cell, it's impervious to water. It can be used as buoyancy or thermal insulation, which is the case that we're using it for here. And the plan is we're going to go with this foam for areas like this where it's difficult to spray because we really couldn't spray accurately around the steering shaft because that needs to spin. So we'll go with the foam on either side of that. If you can see, we had to route out a little channel out of the foam to give it clearance, and then once we have that in, then on either side of it, then we can do the spray foam.
And then, so what's the next step for this area? Like, is it any more?
Yeah, so Bill and I have to do a few of these small pieces. So we just use the table saw, we cut the foam into the right size measured pieces, and then we use the routing table to cut out notches in it. And then the next step would be to clean the aluminum, to spray it with Nyalic. So we're going to use a product called Nyalic, which is going to protect the aluminum from any sort of corrosion, because aluminum depends on oxygen to protect itself, to oxidize, and that's how come you can actually leave aluminum like this, but anytime that you cover it and you deprive it of oxygen, you can have problems if moisture gets introduced. So we're going to spray it with Nyalic to prevent it in that situation, and then the spray foam and the normal foam will go in on top of that.
Okay. Does the Nyalic have any condensation?
It's not really a thermal paint like the T35, it's more of just a protecting paint, but we're insulated anyway, so
So it shouldn't be any condensation.
yeah,
Okay.
that's the plan.
Cool. And I also think that Dan cut these holes. Him and Dane was working on for the galley. All right there. And
For the
then,
sink?
yeah, for the sink, and also the access holes for the, oh, can you lift this one? For the bus bar. Oh, there it is.
The pieces of the puzzle had really come together in the salon, and in true boat project fashion, we also had another totally unrelated project to tick off the list for today. So, what are we up to this morning? This is the Harken Flatwinder, the Harken Flatwinder 500 48 volt version. It's an incredibly beefy piece of kit. We're going to use this bad boy to adjust the Traveler on our mainsail right from the cockpit, just by pushing a button. In case you're not familiar with what that means, a Traveler is a track that lets us move our mainsail from side to side to get the angle to the wind just right. Normally, we'd have to do this by hand, pulling on ropes and winches, but with this new Harken Flatwinder, we can control it automatically from the cockpit. It's fairly heavy, but the way this works is this is an electric motor that is controlled remotely from the helm or the forward cockpit. This motor spins and then turns this gearbox, which then turns this shaft, which then spins this. And imagine a line that enters here, goes around this and exit here, so a continuous line, 10 millimeters. When this spins, it moves that line back and forth. We'd already done a bit of prep work for this the week prior. The Flatwinder is going to go on top of the roof next to the Traveler, as I showed you before. So I needed to cut a hole to be able to connect the motor to it from below. I also needed a bit more height to accommodate the length of the shaft and the flange, so I made a backing plate that we can weld straight onto the deck. That brings us to our next step of tack welding it in place, connecting the motor, and seeing how everything fits together. Just gonna hand tighten these for now, and then I'm gonna fit the motor and everything, because I've learned that we wanna fit everything together. Make sure the motor sits right with the bottom of the supports for the roof, because once Dan welds this on, then it's a lot more difficult to change. So we'll just get everything lined up, and then Dan will lock it in as the final step. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So this line will sort of come in here, and then it goes around this and then exit there. Boom. And we're just gonna lift this so that it matches, goes up there, and then I want to get the bolts in and just test fit everything. Okay. That might be the best orientation. Okay, you can lower it down now, or let go. Okay, I think actually that looks really good like that. I think it's better than having it orientated like this.
Perfectly covered too, which would be sweet. Dang.
That turned out all right.
I was nervous there for a second.
Yeah, it wasn't going to clear that, but then I turned it sideways and then it cleared. And I actually like it better like that.
It's almost like you planned it that way.
High five. Cool. That looks pretty chunky. Chunky piece of hardware there, huh? I'm real happy with how this turned out. I think it looks pretty good. I decided to add on another bracket here on the side just to give it a little bit more support this way, so that I know the instructions only say you have to support it here, but I don't know, I just can't help myself. I like making brackets, I guess. Wait. Another day in the shop and another project was finished. Every day is full of challenges and problem solving, and there's definitely moments when the puzzle feels pretty overwhelming. But when all the pieces start to come together and line up, there's nothing else like it. Thanks so much for coming along for the journey with us, and if you love watching the build every Friday, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. And we'll see you next week. Building a boat. Yeah.